got. Welcome again for the people who did join us yesterday, and a very welcome for the people who are for the first time. Workshop Fair Data, about data management, about findability, accessibility, interoperability, and reusability. I can dream the words. And it's all about open access, open science. The camera, we doesn't have to put it off right now if you don't want. Please put your mic off. If you have any technical problems, go to datasupport@nhlstandard.com and we will help you tackle your technical problems. And when you have questions, please use the chat. Also, there is a list of attendance, and we will use it because of the certificates of attendance you will get when you have attended the workshop. The agenda is as follows. I'm Ingrid van Gorkum. I will do the welcome talk, and then we go further with Anna, Toni, and Nina. They are from Häme University in Finland. And there will be group exercises also. At 14:45, we will have a break, and then I'll continue with fair data. There are also group exercises. Jelly and Ali are back up here. They watch the chat, they watch the mail, so I think everything is covered to have a good workshop right now. First of all, for the people who didn't attend the meeting yesterday, I tell a little bit about RunEU Plus. It's about 7 universities in 6 countries. You see them on the maps. Finland, Ireland, the Netherlands, Austria, Hungary, and Portugal, who have not only for researchers, but also students as well, mobility and exchange for whatever in education and research. That's basically. There is a lot more to tell, but you can grab the video with Yvonne, who told about it yesterday a lot. And she is happy to answer your questions if you have any. We also mentioned something about our work package, Open Science, with the establishment of Open Science ambassadors. Every university who is within the RunEU has 2 ambassadors Open Science, as well as they have a lot of more ambassadors for every work package covered. We did a gap analysis in trainings of Open Science, and well, we've got a lot of work to do, and this is one of the work we have to do. It's the workshop training for open access and on fair data. Well, we want to have your feedback. We had already feedback for it yesterday, and one of the feedback things was, please put the agenda in the chat. So Ali has put the agenda in the chat now, and if you have more comments about being better, how to improve our workshops, we would like to have you fill in the form at the end of the workshop. But for now, I'd like to have you also have to fill in a form. It's in the chat. You'll find a link over there. It's a forms office, and we like to know your level of knowledge of fair data. As you see, it's putting into the chat, and we would like to know what your level of knowledge is, because we want to improve our workshops, and we want to know if the level was okay for you. And of course, we hope that the level is improved at the end of our 4 hours. So thank you for attending. And I'd like to give you the floor to Anna, Toni, and Nina from HAMK. Please welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, Ingrid. And hello, Europe. I've been waiting whole day to get to say that. Like Eurovision Song Contest. My name is Anna Mikkonen. I come from HAMK, and greetings from Finland to all of you, and you're warmly welcome to this workshop. I will start to share my screen. We have a short presentation for you at first. So I hope you can, let's see. I hope you can see the presentation now.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So the first session of today's workshop will be about data management planning, and we will try to give you answers to questions such as what actually is data management planning, why do we need it, and how you can do it. This workshop or session will not cover everything because we will provide you the basic information about data management planning so that you would have the basic knowledge about how to do it and why do you need to do it. But first, before we go on, we would like to present ourselves to you. So here is our HAMK Data Services team. And maybe I can start with presenting myself. I've been working here at HAMK for the past 5 years now. I'm a leader of our multidisciplinary team that provides our research support services. And promoting of open science is one of our team's tasks. And my background is in information sciences. I conducted my PhD in 2017. I studied how people find fiction books to read by using libraries' websites. And in my ancient history, I've been working as a children's nurse and a public health nurse. So that is maybe the reason why my key specialties are in research with human participants and research integrity issues. And in my free time, I like to be upside down, doing air yoga and going to forest. But I think maybe next, Nina, would you present yourself?
Okay, my name is Nina Hynnä. Specialist in the same team said before.
Nina, could you please be louder?
You don't hear me, really? Okay.
Very, very little.
Let me see. How about now? Is it better? No?
Not so much.
Nina, where is your microphone? Is it backside? Your microphone.
My microphone. Well, I'm using my, wireless heads, and maybe this isn't a nice way to. Maybe Toni is. Maybe he is presenting himself.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, hello all on my behalf also. So my name is Toni Pulliainen, and I've been working at HAMK about 11 years now. So, well, actually, since I graduated from HAMK, so for my actual working careers so far. So, my basic job is with the project services or the R&D services. So basically, I handle with all kinds of administrative issues with all our research and development projects, and the data management issues is just one small part of my job, but that's where I'm also involved in. Thanks.
Okay, Nina, do you want to try again?
Do you hear me now?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah, a bit better, yeah.
Good. So shortly, my responsibilities are related to documentation and metadata. And as for the shows, I am passionate about food and cooking. So this was just a short presentation. Nothing much to say.
Okay, thank you, Nina and Toni. So, what to expect from this session? First, we will give you a little lecture about the very basics of the data management planning. And then you will have a tour to our DMP tool that is very widely used here in Finland. It's called DMP Tuuli. And then we will have a short break, about 10 minutes. And after the break, you will get hands-on, and we practice together to write a data management plan, and we do a group exercise in small groups. But don't be too nervous about this exercise. It's supposed to be very relaxed, and it's meant to you to get to know each other and get a chance to discuss about these data management issues. So we will hope that we will have you back after the break also. And then if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask them during this session and lecture. You can interrupt us at any time. Okay, I think we are ready to go on. First, just a few words about data management at HAMK so that you would know why we are here talking today about these issues. HAMK has actually a history of very actively promoting open science and especially data management planning since 2017, because in Finland, the level of different organizations' open science is evaluated in every 2 years by Finland's Ministry of Culture and Education. And actually at this very moment, we are being evaluated, and next autumn we will have the results, and we will see how do we stand up for against other University of Applied Sciences here in Finland. So we are evaluated in 4 different angles about our open publishing, open data, open research culture, and also as a new thing is the open education. And in Finland, the open science is very strongly nationally coordinated. We have a national declaration of open science and research, and we have different policies and recommendations for open science and research in Finland that form the basis of the work that we do here in HAMK. There's a website if you're interested. There's a very much information in English also about our declarations and recommendations if you are interested. And here at HAMK, we actually require data management planning for each project that has received a positive funding decision. So whether it's a research project or development project, we require that data management plan is conducted in the early stages of a project before any data is collected. And also our thesis, we require data management planning. And of course, as a rule, we try to publish all the research data that is produced here in HAMK. Well, as many may know, it's not always possible. We have different legal and ethical issues that prevent us from opening and publishing our data, but we try to aim as open as possible, of course. Okay, the question, why do we actually manage our research data, and what is research data management? It's we can define it in a way that the processing and storaging of the data collected during a project is called a research data management. And it tries to ensure that all the data and the related metadata is created and organized in a manner which ensures that the data remains accessible and reliable. And also, very important, that data protection and data security are maintained over the whole data life cycle, from the very end of the project to the beginning of the project to the end of the project when we try to publish the data. And also, we begin to have a lot of research funders that require data management. Not all, but of course, as you already may know, Horizon requires data management planning. In Finland, we have Academy of Finland, which is very hardcore funder. They also require data management plans. And also we have some international science publishers that have policies where you need to publish your data also when you publish an article. And of course, for a single researcher, there might be many benefits of opening your data, because when you archive your research data and publish it to other people as well, it can constitute an academic credit for researcher, and also citations to this archived data may constitute potential credit in a similar way that citations to publications create credit for a single researcher. Okay, and then I give the floor to Toni. You're welcome.
Thank you, Anna. Yes, some things about data management planning. So in the early stages of the project or the research, a data management plan must be written. And as Anna said, there in HAMK, that is our policy. Well, the data management plan is a good research practice, and it helps a lot, assure the quality of the research, and it can save the time and money of the researcher, and you can make sure that nothing goes wrong during the research when you are managing the data. So basically, in the data management plan, the collected or created data is described. You have to describe how it is used and how it is stored, during the research and after the research also, or what happens to data after the research, how you make it accessible to others, and if you possibly open it after the research and so on. And with the plan, you can ensure that the collection, processing, all the storage, and the possible destruction is done as it should be in a sensible manner. The idea of data management plan is that it works as a tool for the researcher. So first of all, at the beginning of the project, the research project, you make the first version of it, but as it's understandable, usually you don't know anything or everything at that point. So how you are going to handle the data and so on. So you should always update it during the research so that it works as a tool for the researcher, and he or she can, always think things differently. And some research funders require the data management plan in the application phase already, but many times this is a very, simple version of it, so it's not very comprehensive. So you should at least at the start of the research make a more detailed version of it, and then, as I said before, just update it as the research goes on. Okay, we can move on. Yeah, well, this slide has all the basic areas or issues that usually are handled in our data management plan. I'm going to go more into detail into this when I show you our tool or the data management plan, so I'm not going to explain a lot at this point. But these are basically the basic issues that you see in every data management plan. So there's the description of the actual data, how it is stored, all those confidentiality, security issues, rights, so intellectual property rights and access rights and so on, formats and documentation and life cycle and so on. But I will tell you more about this later on. Yeah, we can move on.
Okay, Nina, now it's your turn.
Oh, okay. Something about rights and responsibilities. First of all, example, collaborative projects. Responsibilities of the data management must be agreed. It's very important. The ownership and the usage rights of the data should be agreed as early as possible in the research project. It is not always obvious who is allowed to use the data during the project, and thereafter. So this is especially important if the project has several partners. And it must also agree who has right to decide on the handover of research materials for reuse, and to decide the terms for reuse also. And so you need to consider what data, when, and for which purposes data will be handed over reuse. There is a list of some kind of checklist for this. Okay, next. So how to make data accessible for others? There are several possibilities how to provide access to data. And okay, open data is really open data. So you need to check that there are no ethical or legal issues that prevent from publishing the data as open data. And you should check also that the terms of reuse licenses of the data are clear. And then not all data can be given for use. For example, if the data include sensitive or confidential data, or if data you don't want to hand over for use immediately after the project. That's one possibility too, to have some kind of embargo. And restricted use is also possible against permission. And then it's also so-called long-term preservation option. This means that a long-term preservation of research data, the retention period is at least 20 years. And long-term preservation, the data curation is needed from archive institution actually. And these kind of certificate archives are for long-term preservation. The aim is to keep data usable and comprehensive for tens or even hundreds of years. So there are different kind of storage positions. And then maybe you must delete the data. Typically, data must be destroyed when it contains personal data or confidential data, and that the participants in the research have not been informed that the retention the data. So everything must be informed advance. This is a very, very important issue. And all of this according to the data management plan. Okay, next. You can move on, Anna. And
Okay.
oh yes, sorry. So the storage option for your data depends on collected data, data protection, and research integrity issues. And sensitive data should not get in cloud services. You may know already that. I hope so. And if you need to store and share data with researchers from other institutions, you need different kind of storage options. In Finland, we have IDA, as we say. It is for storing and sharing data within the project group in this service. And IDA is also for publishing the data as data sets. And there are international open access repositories, Zenodo. It is very easy to use and it's suitable for any kind of data files, but it's not for sensitive data. And the data is not graded. That must be remembered. And maybe you have some kind of own data archive. We have own repository HAMK data. It's definitely not archive, but it is a place for short-term storage, typically for 5 years for research verification. Okay, and shortly about data description and metadata, because you are talking about this issue later today. Just saying that the documentation includes essential information regarding the data, and the fact is that without sufficient documentation, the data cannot be reused, and it should be done as detailed as it possible. You should tell where, when, and why data is collected, and how the data sets have been created, what is the structure, and how the data has been handled. And descriptive information is created so that the data sets can be interpreted correctly by using metadata standards, vocabularies, and README files, for example, to tell to reusers the content and the context of the data. And this is just a scratch for the team. But yes, this was my part of the presentation.
Thank you, Nina. And even though this workshop is not about research integrity or data protection issues, I just want to remind you about these issues also, because later on when we go on to the group exercise, you will have questions also concerning these issues. So research integrity issues are a vital part of data management planning, especially if you are conducting research with human participants. So if you want to publish your data in the end of the project, you must inform your participants before you collect any data about the opening or publishing of the data. If you do not ask the participants' permission to publish your data before you have collected any data, it is usually very hard or even impossible to do it afterwards. So this is why you also need to consider ethical issues related to data management planning. And also ethical review, which I think you are familiar with, is at the planning stage of your research, you should find out whether the research requires ethical review. If it's a very sensitive research area or you have minors as the participants, you usually need an ethical review. And university websites usually have instructions on this matter, how you can apply for an ethical review in your university. And then also the informed consent or the permission for the participant to participate in the study. It is important to remember. And of course, we all have our national ethical guidelines, and then we have international codes and guidelines for research ethics, the European Code of Conduct for Research Integrity by ALLEA, and then also recommendations for the investigation of research misconduct, which is by ENRIO. And these issues should also be described in your data management plan. How do you handle the research integrity in your research project? And also, same goes with data protection. If you are collecting any personal data, you have to be extra careful and also remember to consider these issues carefully before you collect any data. And the good question to ask for yourself is that, do I actually need to collect personal data? And do not collect any personal data that is not necessary for your research project. So the recommendation is to collect only personal data which is relevant to the research questions. And of course, you also need to inform your participants about collecting the personal data. You have to tell the participants how long will you save or storage the personal data? Will it be deleted? Who will have access to the personal data? How do you handle the data security issues, data protection issues? And also, these are very important to be written in your data management plan. Okay, next we will have a demo of our DMP tool called DMP Tuuli. But do we have any questions or comments at this point?
I didn't see any questions or comments in the chat, Anna.
Okay. Okay, then I give the floor again to Toni. I will stop the sharing my screen and you can start the demo.
Yes, thank you. I'll start by putting the link to the tool at the website in the chat. Then I'll try to share my screen. Okay, now you should see something. DMP tool is the name of the tool. And yes, this is the national Finnish tool, which is used by most of the Finnish universities and other organizations too. But this is actually a totally open system. So basically any one of you can use this by creating the account from here and then just start using it. So in case you want to try it now, later, or if you are in a desperate need for a system for a DMP, then you can actually use this. So yeah, basic features, the basic templates that are already there, you can use those also. And also what I want to show you from this first page here is that even if you don't want to create an account and sign in, you can find the templates on the web page here. So you can just download those in Word and just start doing it there. So very simple. Yeah, most of these templates are for Finnish funders, but for example, there's the Horizon Europe template, also the Horizon 2020. And also there's the general template, which is also in English, and that is very good general template. And I'm actually going to show you that one today. But now I'm going to sign in to the actual system. So now we are in. So some basic stuff about this. This is the dashboard. You can just see here all the data management plans you have created, and also the management plans that someone else have invited you to be a collaboration or edit or view it or something like that. But I will just start by creating a new plan from here. So at first, yeah, you have to give, I will just put some kind of test name for this. So you will, of course, have to give the name of the research project that you are doing right now. You can have organization. Well, I have my own organization here already, but if you don't have an organization, you can just put no research organization associated. And here you can also, if you have a specific funder, you can just search for the funder template. But for some reason I can't find the, yeah, those are some Finnish ones. There's European Commission, and then you have for the Horizon, for example. But for this case, I'm gonna just choose no funder associated. And that way you can get the general template that has been created here. Okay, let's go to create plan. And now we are inside the actual plan. There are some other information you can give here. The title, project title is the only compulsory information here, but you can give the abstract, the duration, the ID number, if you have one who's funding it, and so on and so on. And the good thing about this system is that there are these guidance texts. I'm using here the general Finnish DLP guidance texts. You will see those later on. So there's not just questions and you have to answer, you have also some guidance there which help you a lot. Then you can give contributors here. So basically any people, any researcher who is responsible in the research, in the plan, who knows something about it. Well, then there's plan overview. This is just gives you the, actually I have now the Finnish version. I have to go back and change the, let's go to the English. Yeah, this is the English version now. So yeah, this gives the overview of the plan, so the questions and so on, but you cannot do actually anything here. So the main thing here is the write plan tab here. And this template, this is divided into 6 different sections here. And under the sections, there are the specific questions, what is asked in each section. In the first one, there is this, there's this guidance text. It gives you some information on why you have to do this data management plan, how do you do it, and so on. But then you'll come to the actual questions. So the first part is the general description of the data. So here you should give information on what kind of data you are collecting. Is it interviews, surveys, is it some kind of quantitative data, and so on. Also file formats you can give here, and also you should think about how much data you have, because that has an effect on the storage place you are gonna choose for data. In the right side here, you can have the guidance. So this gives you the idea what kind of things you should consider. And there are also some tips for best practices, which is very good. Very good information on this part. Then the second question is about the consistency and quality. So basically what this means is that how do you ensure that the data doesn't change accidentally during the processing, so that the handling methods and so on are such that you don't have any accidents with the data. So that's basically what the data quality means here. Then the second section is about ethical legal issues. So first of all, the first question is about the GDPR, about the legislation issues. So if you are handling personal or otherwise sensitive information, how do you ensure that the data doesn't, no one who shouldn't see it sees it, and so on, and what kind of procedures you have to do if you are collecting personal information or otherwise sensitive information. And the second part in this section is the rights. So this means basically the intellectual property rights. So what kind of agreements you have to do, maybe with the other researchers, with your research partners about the intellectual property rights. So for example, what happens after the research, the data, who can use it for what purposes? Especially important if it's commercially valuable data, and you have to agree on who has the right to use it for commercial purposes. But this also means the licensing, that is very important, as you can see here with exclamation mark, license your data. So Creative Commons licenses are, of course, the usual ways of giving the license to the data. The third one is documentation and metadata. On our experience, this is probably the most difficult one for researchers, so they don't actually know what this means and what they should write here. But this just basically means the description of the data, so that you give enough metadata about the data, so where, when, why, and how the data was collected, and also all the information. Important information on how you can use it again in your own research. So that if anyone gets the data and wants to use it for his own purposes, and the researcher knows how you can use it and just basically can understand it. But this is a very, very important section of the data management plan. So the fourth one is very straightforward. So this is the storage places and also the backup. So where are you going to store it? Do you have to give other researchers, other partner organizations access to the storage place during the research? And how do you do the backups? So if something happens, accidentally you delete the data, then you have somewhere a backup and you can restore it for use. Then there's also the how you control the access to the data, so that how those are handled, and so that no outsiders can access the data, and only the people who are allowed to control and handle the data have the access to it. The fifth one is about opening and publishing. So you should think about, first of all, are you going to open some part of the data? And if you do it, what part of the data? Is the whole data opened or just some part of it? And what tools you use for it? So where is it going to be stored, and when, and so on. And even if you don't open the actual data, it's a good idea that at least the metadata is published, so that anyone can find the information on the data. Okay, you have done this kind of research, this kind of data exists somewhere, and so on. So you have to also consider this at this point. And then also you have to think about the long-term preservation. So if the whole data is not destroyed after the research, there are some possibilities. Nina mentioned this earlier. So you can archive the data for verification purposes, like a few years. Or if you want to use it again in a later research, you can store it for some years. Or even if it's very, very valuable, like nationally or even internationally, then you can even store it for tens or hundreds of years, so basically forever. These are, of course, very, very rare cases. And the last section is about the responsibilities and the resources. So in this section, we should give all the people who are responsible of the data management in the different phases, during and after. So it's also important to give there should be someone, if there's data is stored after the research, you should have someone who's the contact person and knows about the data. So you should give that person here also. And also the last one here is about the resources, so basically budget. Because sometimes if you want to do the data management correctly and properly, it can cost some money, at least working hours, or maybe other costs too. And this should be also considered in the project budget in the early stages. So it's very important to think about this. So yeah, this is the basic layout of the general template in our system. This is not the actual HAMK template, but it's very, 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 very close to it, and gives you the basic idea of what kind of things you have to consider when making the data management plan. And very quickly, I'm going to show some other functions in the system. Here you can share the plan. This is very useful. So you can just put an email and give co-owner or editor rights or only read-only rights to anyone. So just put email here and then anyone can access the same plan. So because many times you will need maybe the whole research group for the data management plan. One person may not be able to do the whole plan, so then you have to collaborate. And then, of course, you can download the actual plan as PDF or other formats. For example, if you have to store it in the project documentation, or if you have to deliver it to the funder in some cases. So, yeah, I think that's the quick presentation of this tool. I think there are, of course, other tools, even some international tools. I can show actually a couple of those you, just to finish my presentation. There is this data stewardship wizard, so DSW. This is totally free and free to use. I don't have much, experience on this, so how well this works, but this seemed a bit maybe complicated for beginners. And then there's the easy DMP, which seem to be a lot more simpler, and they say here that this should be very suitable for beginners who don't know much about data management plan and so on. So there are other tools, and if you just Google, I think you can find more of these, but just to give you an idea what is possible. Yeah, I think that's it. Do you have any questions about this tool or others? Complete silence.
You get applauds. I think there's a question.
Yeah, could I ask a question? Thanks very much, Toni. That was very informative. And just from your own experience, what do you find to be the advantage of using a tool like this?
Well, I think first of all, the sharing. So you have one system and you can invite others, because that's very useful. It doesn't matter which organization they are from and so on. And I think for this one, because our organization is here, we can create our own, guidance text here. We can create our own templates, which we have done. So you can very much modify it to your own purposes. So I think those are maybe the most important advances in this kind of system.
And maybe I could add that as we are the data services and we see this from the point of view of support services, this has actually been quite a rocky road to actually get researchers to write these data management plan. It has really taken us the whole 5 years that we have done this, that now they are actually written. And we have just created a new system that we actually open to DMP for our research projects from data services, so that we can see if they are written. If they are not written, we can put an email to our research group that, okay, you need to do this DMP. We see that you haven't done it yet. Would you like to have some help? Could we write it together? So that we also have this, how would I say, we're not inspectors, but we somehow want to keep the tails in our hand also, so that we would be on track that if these are done, or whether they are not done. So that is also a great advantage.
Yeah, that was going to be my next. Sorry, Toni, go on. Sorry, I interrupted
you. Yeah, I was just showing my dashboard here. So here you can actually see these are all actual projects that we have ongoing, and the project manager has given us access right to the project, so we can see them here, we can read them. Also in the system, we can see the other plans that were made in HAMK. So you can put it as a public here, and so that everyone from your organization can see the plans and can go and read them. So those are also visible here. So, but it gives you kind of a control I don't want to use it, but for R&D services, that is a very good thing.
And do you audit them at the end of a project, or maybe you haven't reached that stage yet? Who checks that the plan has been implemented and that, you know, things have been updated and published where they said they were going to be, or protected how they said they were going to be? Have you reached that stage yet?
Well, yeah, we are keeping track of the projects. We have lists of the projects that are beginning, and we always write there if they have to make an data management plan and so on and so on. And also at the end of the project, we have this meetings with the project managers, and there we discuss about if there was any data created in the project, what happens to data now that the project has ended. And we discuss these things now, so we have processes, and well, this very new procedure now in our organization. But we try to control it as much as we can, but it's not easy.
No, I can imagine. But that's a great service that you offer. Thanks very much for showing it to us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we have any other questions? I see from the chat that we got 12 points, which actually never happens in Eurovision. So this is great improvement.
Hey, hard rock, hallelujah. You don't remember.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the only time. If we don't have any questions at this moment, I think we would now have our short break.